Hey guys, welcome back to day 6 of 10 albums in 10 days. I am doing that Facebook trend thing of posting it, but I'm actually talking about it. Not like that stupid don't talk about it. If you missed the last 5 days, go ahead to the link in the description. There is a playlist down there and you can get caught up. And I want you guys to play along at home. For each video for each day, go ahead and let me know in the comments one album that had a huge impact on you. So you also have 10 by the end of these days. All right, so when I was about 22, I didn't really like growls that much, and there was only a handful of exceptions. The two I can really think of off the top of my head were Soilwork, surprisingly Soilwork, and Opeth, and I'm not counting Bullet for My Valentine. I didn't care much for ridiculously low-tuned guitars with obnoxious amounts of distortion. I literally thought it was just noise. I really couldn't make it out very well, and I couldn't understand the fundamental tone of the notes that they were playing at that time, and because of that, I thought it was pointless. I thought it was just intended to make noise. My buddy Eddie, again, hands me Periphery 1. I take it home and I actually listen to some of it. I skipped through a bunch of tracks because to me it's just a bunch of screaming noise, didn't really care for it. And then I got to Light and I stopped. And for years in my mind, Light was the first track on the album. There was a few things that separated Light from me from the previous tracks. One, rhythmically substantially more simplified than the previous tracks. Two, the upper register guitar and that long note that he hits in the beginning. At first, when I listened to it, I'm like, I can't quite make out what the note is, but the upper register guitar, which is very simple but really cool, actually gave me reference for what that was supposed to be, and I'm like, oh god, he's actually playing notes. Oh god, okay. You know, first it has this big fat, ugly tone, just so massive and gross and aggressive. And then it starts doing these crazy freaking chugs, and then it starts to just pull me in. I start to notice the pattern, even though it's an awkward pattern. In my mind, I'm thinking that it's in a different time signature, but then you realize later when you're actually counting, you're like, holy fuck, they're in 4/4. I absolutely loved the clean vocals on that track, and I eventually learned to love the growls. It was what I would eventually learn is a Meshuggah style groove that had initially hooked me in. And then the way that the chorus vocal melody hits this pinnacle as it's working its way up, and each chorus goes higher and higher and freaking smacks, dude. It just pulls you in. Yanks at your heart. This album opened me up to appreciating and understanding a butt ton more types of metal that I would have just written off as noise so long ago. It helped me better be able to identify tone with my ears, for one. It's not easy with the untrained ear, but it really shined the light for me of what makes this raw brutality of European inspired styles of metal like black metal and death metal so beautiful at the same time. And if you're sick of gent bands and all the gent bands sounding exactly the same, you can probably blame this album. They weren't literally the first, but they pioneered the tone, the overused grooves, the spacey upper register cleans, and popularized the sound. They blended in the death and black metal type of sounds with the metalcore scene that was happening at the moment, and then injected crazy Meshuggah style, jazz style grooves. And it just was this crazy melange of intensity on multiple different levels that appealed to a lot of metal listeners and some even rock listeners of that period. It was the album that launched 1,000 copycats. Some track highlights, all new materials. I think this track is highly underrated. That intro clean guitar, like, oh dude, so tasty, so pretty, so cool. That is like a precursor to what I would eventually understand to be math rock. And the melody, especially with that chord progression underneath of it. Oh, so fire. Butter Snips. This is one that I didn't realize I liked until later on when I realized I liked it. It was a slow burner for me, but man, those opening riffs freaking Ah, so freaking cool. But the thing that really sold me on that song was the tappy part in the bridge. And then when the drums come in, it's like, oh, dude, this groove is fucking madness. Then the way they exit the bridge is just so freaking tight with the harmony that they're using, and the vocal melody is like, I don't know how to describe it. A little dark and demented, but also a little bit hopeful at the same time. It's really, really interesting. Total Mad, which is just mega groovy and has like interesting dissonance in it, atypical dissonance from what I usually listen to. The upper register cleaner guitars add this really cool, spacey, kind of like curious atmosphere. And the riffs in that song are fucking killer. Amazing choruses. All My Feelings just has some brutally heavy riffs and super emotional moments throughout, especially in the bridge. Man, Periphery's bridges are just so good on this album. Race Car. I've talked about Race Car multiple times, and holy shit, what an adventure it is. Very long, but does it just like, it takes you from one place to another quite seamlessly. It is very angular and disjunct in many ways, especially rhythmically, but man, when it slaps into that groove, that riff, I'm gonna use riff loosely, it's a whole bunch of zeros. Bow, 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 bow. If you guys follow me on social media, I posted a video of me performing that. God, that is just such an infectious fucking groove. And then that solo just absolutely rips your fucking mind apart. So good, so tasty. All right, so that's Periphery 1. What do you guys think of Periphery 1? Let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know in the comments what album had a huge impact on you. Keep up with us. Go to the links in the description in case you missed any of it. There's a playlist down there, and go ahead and get caught up. And also let me know in each one of those videos other albums that impacted you. And I will see you guys tomorrow, and most likely slightly more inebriated because I've been drinking while I've been recording all of these videos in one day. It'll be interesting to see what it's like when I finally get to the last album, especially considering the album. See you guys tomorrow. Rock on.